Hi guys and welcome to Crazy Pepper Revenge. This channel is all about crazy true stories, stuff that happens in real life when things get a little bit messy, people dealing with drama, cheating, lies, breakups, and even revenge. Some stories are wild, some are emotional, but all of them will keep you watching. If you like real talk and real situations, you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stick around. This is Crazy Pepper Revenge, where the stories get spicy.
This is a mistake. They need me here. I didn't do anything.
My wife Marcy came home from her 6-week work trip to Colombia, expecting me to be waiting like a faithful dog. She'd been having an affair with Dr. Trey from her hospital the entire time, sending me photos and bragging about their connection. She even tried getting our partner exchanger neighbors Leslie and Vincent involved behind my back before she left, thinking she could orchestrate some elaborate cheating scheme. When she called me from Colombia, laughing about her liberation and how I was too weak to leave her, something inside me snapped. This wasn't her first rodeo either. I knew about the Red Roof Inn situation when I was deployed to Korea years ago. She thought I didn't know about her strange parking routine there, but someone had told me. She never admitted it, but we both knew what really happened. This time, though, she was flaunting it openly, convinced I'd never grow a spine. So I decided to give her exactly what she wanted. A truly open relationship where one spouse does whatever they want without approval. While she was playing house with Trey in South America, posting Instagram stories and sending me explicit photos like some kind of twisted trophy collection, I got busy. First, I hired a private investigator who got some absolutely amazing photos and videos of their romantic getaway. Then I systematically dismantled our entire life together. Sold our house to a nice young couple named Rod and Emily Wellman. Closed all our joint bank accounts using the power of attorney she'd foolishly signed years ago. Quit my job, bought a beautiful RV, and planned the perfect goodbye. I also did my homework on her workplace. Turns out the hospital had a strict morality clause that applied to staff and public-facing roles. Perfect. The night she landed back in the States, I had someone deliver a letter to her at the Ambassador Hotel, where she expected me to be waiting with flowers and apologies. Instead, when she tried to check in, every single one of her credit cards was declined. The look on her face must have been priceless, according to my guy. The letter I sent explained everything in excruciating detail. How I knew about all her affairs, past and present. How I'd liquidated everything we owned down to the last penny. How I'd shared her explicit photos and videos with HR at the hospital, our adult children, friends, family, church acquaintances, and basically everyone in our social circle. I attached copies of her morality clause violation and mentioned the ironclad contract I'd gotten the hospital to sign, threatening a massive lawsuit if they didn't immediately terminate both her and Dr. Trey. The best part, though? I included a $500 Visa gift card with a note. Enjoy the open relationship you forced on me. Oh, and I left you one last gift. That's all the plastic you have left, Marcy. I also made it clear I wasn't filing for divorce. As I wrote, if you want out, file for abandonment. I won't contest it. I've already taken what I need. The house, the cars, our money, the kids' respect. I told her I'd call her as often as she called me during her affair. 0 times. By Monday morning, both she and Trey were completely screwed. The hospital couldn't risk the scandal after I'd sent the evidence to major donors, board members, and philanthropic partners. Apparently, the photos were very explicit, according to the HR manager, and complaints were pouring in from staff who found their behavior unethical. Marcy showed up at the hospital that Monday trying to salvage her career, marching in wearing her usual arrogant expression. But HR was ready for her. Miss Washington, the HR manager, had been expecting her and laid out the situation coldly. The photos had been circulated throughout the hospital corridors and beyond. Security escorted her out while everyone stared and whispered. Her colleague Trey was getting similar treatment. Pale, sweating, cornered by disgusted staff members. The humiliation was apparently exquisite. She tried to blame him. He tried to blame her. Neither had any sympathy for the other when reality hit. But wait, it gets better. While she was being escorted out by security, she ran into our neighbor Leslie, you know, the one she'd tried to rope into her cheating scheme. Leslie was there for a job interview and had seen Marcy's face all over the building. Leslie tore into her about the difference between honest swinging and sneaky cheating, telling her she'd brought this on herself. Apparently, Leslie had tried to warn her that honest communication was key, but Marcy had just wanted to use their lifestyle as cover for her lies. Leslie also mentioned she'd had dinner with me and that I wasn't interested in sleeping with her. Found the idea nauseating, given how Marcy had tried to drag them into her deception. The look on Marcy's face when she realized even her potential affair partners found her disgusting was apparently priceless. Meanwhile, I was already several states away in my RV, watching the sunrise over some beautiful desert landscape, completely unreachable. She tried finding lawyers, but nobody would take her case. One was brutally honest. If the evidence is real, it's not defamation. And without money, you can't challenge asset sales. The power of attorney she'd signed was bulletproof, and I'd executed everything with precise legal documentation. My buddy Ferris called me laughing his ass off. Apparently, Marcy had tracked down his number and called screaming about how I'd destroyed her life and demanding my location. He told her Rick had been through enough and that she should fix her own mess, then hung up on her. The entire world was shielding me while she rotted. The storage unit thing was my final masterpiece of psychological warfare. I sent her an email from a temporary address, which I immediately deactivated, letting her know I'd left some of her trinkets in a storage unit that would be unlocked Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon. Just random keepsakes, old letters, nothing valuable. I told her it was the last generous thing I'd do because I used to love her. She showed up like a scavenger, going through boxes of old photos and mementos, probably hoping to find something she could sell. But it was all just memories of when we were actually happy, carefully curated to show her exactly what she'd thrown away. Old ski trip photos where I'm holding her hand with eyes bright with love letters, little gifts. Pure psychological torture disguised as kindness. Even better, I'd arranged for Emily Wellman, one of the buyers of our house, to coincidentally show up while Marcy was there. Emily was polite, but firm, mentioning that Rick had told them Marcy wanted a fresh start and offering to let her visit the house sometime if she wanted to revisit memories. Marcy completely lost it, screaming about how she didn't need pity and storming off. The beautiful irony of the new homeowner offering charity to the former queen of the castle was chef's kiss. Within weeks, she was living in some roach-infested motel on the outskirts of town, pawning jewelry to survive. Her termination became official, and word of her scandal spread through the entire local healthcare network. No one would hire her. Her own children wouldn't return her calls after seeing the photos I'd shared. Her daughter left a brutal voicemail saying she was disappointed and worried about Dad and needed time before they could even think about talking. The psychological destruction was complete. She went from strutting around like she owned the world to crying in motel parking lots, staring at her reflection in cracked mirrors, not recognizing herself. Trey's life imploded too. His wife left him. He got blacklisted from hospitals throughout the region, and in a moment of peak irony, he actually called Marcy from his own rock bottom to blame her for hooking up with a jerk like him. Even her affair partner thought she was toxic by the end. She used to mock me as weak and spineless, telling Trey that real men don't whimper. She'd brag about how I was too passive to ever leave her, too devoted to ever fight back. Turns out this weak man could orchestrate her complete destruction while she was busy posting Instagram stories from her Colombian Zex vacation. I'm currently somewhere in the Southwest, living my absolute best life in my RV. Every morning, I wake up to incredible sunrises over desert landscapes, knowing I'll never have to see her smug, entitled face again. The open road is freedom in its purest form. Sometimes people think they can have their cake and eat it too. Marcy learned that actions have consequences, and that some people you really shouldn't underestimate. She wanted independence and excitement. I gave her isolation and despair. She wanted an open relationship where she could do whatever she wanted. I gave her exactly that, just not the way she imagined. The beauty of my revenge wasn't just the immediate devastation, it was the perfect poetic justice. She'd spent years thinking she was smarter than me, more sophisticated, more deserving of excitement. She'd convinced herself that I was just some pathetic military guy who'd wait forever while she explored her options. She used to look at me with this smug expression when she thought I wasn't watching, like she was doing me some kind of favor by staying married to boring old Rick. Instead, she discovered that her boring, passive husband was capable of tactical planning that would make Sun Tzu proud. Every move I made was calculated for maximum psychological impact. The timing the storage unit theater, the legal precision, the social destruction. It was all designed to strip away every last shred of the identity she'd built around being superior to me. You want to know the most satisfying part? I found one of her old draft letters in those storage boxes, something she'd written years ago but never sent. In it, she threatened that if I ever broke her trust, she'd make me regret it and destroy the illusions that bind us. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. She'd literally written the playbook for her own destruction and handed it to me years earlier. I also made sure to include some of her old love letters to me in those boxes, the ones where she gushed about how much she loved and respected me, how I was her rock and her hero. I wanted her to read her own words about the man she'd decided to betray and humiliate. The psychological warfare was exquisite. And the best part? I'm not done. She can file for divorce if she wants, but I'll be out here living free while she deals with lawyers and paperwork from her motel room. Every legal document will be a reminder of how thoroughly she lost this war she started. The process will cost her money she doesn't have and time she can't afford to waste. What really gets me is how she thought she had me figured out. She'd tell her friends and apparently Dr. Trey about how predictable and weak I was, how I'd never have the spine to leave or fight back. She was so confident in her assessment that she didn't even try to hide her affair. She practically advertised it. But here's what she never understood about military training. We don't just learn to fight, we learn to plan. We learn patience, strategic thinking, and how to execute a mission with precision. She thought my years of service made me some kind of compliant robot. In reality, it taught me exactly how to dismantle an enemy completely and efficiently. Update. Found out through the grapevine that she's been trying to get back into healthcare, but the scandal follows her everywhere. Apparently, she applied to 3 different hospitals, and they all Googled her name and found the story. One recruiter was apparently so disgusted they told her never to apply again. Another hospital called her former supervisor for a reference and got an earful about the morality clause violation. She also tried reaching out to some of our old church friends for help, but word had already spread there too. Apparently, she showed up to Sunday service a few weeks ago looking desperate, and people literally got up and moved to different pews. The pastor's wife told someone that Marcy tried to play sufferer, claiming I'd abandoned her in her time of need. Nobody was buying it. Also heard she's been telling people I'm psychotic and that she's the real sufferer here. The cognitive dissonance is amazing. She cheats openly, flaunts it, mocks me publicly, then acts shocked when there are consequences. Classic narcissist behavior. Everything is always someone else's fault. Ferris called me again last week. Apparently, she tried a different approach and had some mutual acquaintance reach out to him, spinning some sob story about how she's learned her lesson and just wants to make things right. The woman is delusional if she thinks there's any coming back from this. I heard through Leslie that Marcy actually had the audacity to ask if she could crash at their place temporarily. Leslie laughed in her face and told her that her and Vincent's lifestyle is built on trust and honesty, 2 things Marcy clearly knows nothing about. Even the partner exchangers think she's morally bankrupt. The open road is calling. Just hit Utah and the landscapes are absolutely breathtaking. Tomorrow, I'm heading to Zion National Park. Might send her a postcard from there, something scenic with "Wish you were here" written on it. Actually, no, that would be a lie. I've never been happier to be alone. Life is good when you're free from toxic people. Every mile I drive is another mile between me and the mess she created. And the best part is knowing that while I'm out here living my dreams, she's probably staring at the ceiling of that Roach Motel, finally understanding what real consequences look like.